Numbskull News, and today we're looking at the aftermath after week 6. How does this affect the Big 12 and their chances of getting 2 teams into the CFP? We're going to take a look at everything that's gone on, discuss it a little bit, see what the road looks like. Well, if we're looking at things from the Big 12 perspective, we got to start with Notre Dame, all right, because they take up an at-large if they win enough games. Right now, they got 2 losses. They just beat Boise State. Next up, they got NC State. I don't like that as much as I did earlier in the season. USC. There's a chance there that they drop a 3rd game. Boston College, not really. Navy, probably not. Pitt, probably not, but they're looking a little better. There's a little hope there. Syracuse, I don't know what the hell Syracuse is doing. Are they good or they suck? I don't know. And then Stanford, no worries there. Really, it comes down to USC for me. If USC can somehow travel to Notre Dame and take them down, that would be great. USC is not a bad team. They're actually a pretty good team. I know they lost to Illinois, but Illinois is good as well. So we got to all become Trojan fans. Sorry, we just do. And then we got to look at our friends in the ACC and see what's going on. Now, as I said, a lot of upheaval here. Virginia did us a big old solid. They took down Florida State, which, you know, look, I got no animosity towards Florida State at all. We just needed some of those big dogs to lose, and they did. As a matter of fact, Florida State caught their 2nd loss due to Miami. Thank you, Miami. Now Virginia, though, they got 1 loss. You know, how do things look for them? Washington State, I got Virginia there. They travel to UNC. Oh, that's a win. Cal, going over to Cal, probably Virginia. Wake Forest all of a sudden is interesting. They're actually playing well, so there's a shot there. Virginia screws the pooch there. Duke's not a bad team. There's a chance there. Virginia Tech, Virginia is going to beat them down. So overall, 2 teams there, and I'm shaky with them. That's the problem. Wake Forest and Duke, you know, I could see them beating Virginia, but I could also see them getting their ass kicked. So it's up in the air with Virginia all of a sudden. They have a very strong pathway to just be a 1-loss freaking team in the ACC. Oh my God. But here's the problem, and a big problem for the Big 12. Georgia Tech. Again, they got Wake Forest. Virginia Tech, not worried about. Duke. Those are the same 2. They can provide a little resistance. Syracuse, like I said, I don't know. There's NC State, not worried about. Boston College, I'm not worried about. Pitt, you know, that's a little bit more of a game. Georgia Tech played Georgia damn well last year. Can they repeat that? I don't know. But Georgia Tech also, I mean, could they be a 1-loss team? Could they be a 1-loss team in the ACC? Freaking Georgia Tech? Yes, they can. That's scary. And then you got Miami. I don't know who's beating Miami. Louisville has a shot, but I don't know how much of a shot. SMU, I doubt it. Syracuse, I doubt it. NC State, no chance. Virginia Tech, really no chance. Probably not Pitt either. This is going to be a case if Miami beats themselves. Is there 3 losses here to knock them out? No, there's not. They're going to the conference title game of the ACC. The only question is, do they end up with a loss? I don't even know they do that. So as it stands right now, Georgia Tech, Miami, it's going to be really tough for them to fall out. Virginia's got an outstanding chance. The best schedule of the 3 remaining. And, you know, another 1-loss team here, Louisville. Let's check out Louisville. They just lost to Virginia. They got Miami next. That's probably a 2nd loss. Boston College, Virginia Tech, they'll get through them. Cal, more than likely, they'll get through them. Clemson, does Clemson come alive at any point in this season? I don't know. If they do, that's a possible trip up, but Then there's SMU, who could jump up and surprise you. Kentucky, not really worried about Kentucky beating Louisville. So could they be a 10-2 team pretty easily? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely could. And that's what's dangerous about the ACC right now. This is what got me scared, because the ACC overall sucks. It just does. Look at all these 3-loss teams already. 4 losses. 2-4 overall record for Virginia Tech. 1-4 for Boston College. I mean, like Cal was actually playing pretty decent, so maybe they could wreak a little havoc for us. But I just, man, it's those 3 teams right there. And here's the suck ass thing, like Florida State. Florida State just caught 2 losses. Is there a 3rd loss somewhere for Florida State, so we at least don't have to worry about them either? Pitt, maybe. Wake Forest, maybe. Clemson, maybe Clemson gets up for 1 game this year. That would be it. But still, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with it. Virginia Tech, no. NC State, probably not. Florida, I mean, Florida just beat Texas. So maybe that's the only 50-50 game left for Florida State. Clemson, that's not a 50-50. Florida State should be favored there. But damn, this conference just kind of sucks, man. And that's the problem. If you get to the top of this conference, you get off to these great starts like Georgia Tech, Miami, Virginia. Louisville still has a great start. It's going to be really difficult for them not to be an undefeated or a 1-loss or a 2-loss team. That's the thing that sucks with the ACC right now. We still got a ways to go. We still got 7 more games. There's hopefully some people trip up a little bit. And maybe they will. This is the ACC we're talking about. Maybe they will. Well, let's roll over here to the Big Ten. And Penn State just shat the bed, losing to UCLA. A winless UCLA. Penn freaking State. If you can lose to UCLA, you can lose to anybody. So I see the remaining part of their schedule. I think Penn State's done. It's amazing. I mean, what is their record here? What is their record? They already got 2 losses, y'all. Penn State's done. You're like, oh, it's Northwestern. Well, it was UCLA. I mean, what the hell? Iowa can beat them at that point. Ohio State, there's no way in hell they're beating Ohio State. Indiana? No. Michigan State? No, probably not. Nebraska? Look, Penn State's done. Penn State is done. So that helps the Big 12 a little bit. But look at all this real estate here. Indiana, undefeated, having another great season. They got Oregon, so we're going to find out real quick. See, Michigan State, I don't know about that. Maryland, Maryland's decent, but Indiana should probably get that game. Indiana, Penn State, I thought Penn State might be, maybe they could still lose to Penn State. I don't know what the hell's going on over there. But, Wisconsin, I'm not worried about Wisconsin. Purdue, no. So is there any more losses here for Indiana? Could they get the 3 losses? Yeah, they could. Well, maybe. I don't know. 10-2, I think, is going to be the worst possible outcome for Penn State. For Indiana here. Well, what about Michigan? They only got 1 loss, right? They just, put it on Wisconsin. They got USC coming up. Maybe there's a loss there. Washington, they had a rough time with Ohio State, but they're not bad. They're not bad at all. So maybe, Michigan State is a little better this year. Could they give some resistance? I don't know. Maryland, Ohio State. Can Ohio State finally break through and beat Michigan? And it's at Michigan. So there's some tough games there for Michigan. Can they drop a couple of games? They could. They absolutely could. So I'm a little hopeful there. And the before mentioned USC with Michigan. They got Notre Dame. Then they got Nebraska. They got Iowa. Then they got Oregon. Yeah, I'm not, I don't think, I know UCLA, that's just a fluke ass win. I don't know what else to say about it. That's just crazy putting up 40 something on Penn State. But yeah, USC can definitely fall out of this thing too. All right, we'll see how it plays out over the next few weeks, but I don't know. That looks good. There's just the Indiana thing, and Ohio State's going to be in there, okay? I'm not even going to look at their schedule. Don't give a shit. I'm not looking at Oregon. Both those teams are making it. More than likely Indiana. So there's still a bit of a question mark with Michigan. What about Illinois? They got Ohio State next. Well, that's probably another loss. Washington, possible loss. Maryland. Illinois will be favored, but there's a slight risk there for Illinois. So could they fall? Is there a couple more losses here for Illinois? Could be. Because what we need is the Big 12. Look, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. They're just getting in. We know it. But we need some of these other schools to beat each other up. We need Maryland to fall and to get some wins. Actually, we need Maryland to do some winning. We need Washington to do some winning and losing. See, all these one-loss teams, they got to fall out. So Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, that needs to be the only three to get in for the Big Ten. That helps the Big 12 the most. Let's go over to the SEC. And they got 4 undefeateds, y'all. 4 undefeateds. Who's going to make it? Is Ole Miss going to make it? I know I looked at this before. Washington State, don't make me laugh. Georgia. Then they got Oklahoma. Yeah, South Carolina, not worried about really. Citadel, not really. Florida's looking wonky because everyone picked them to do great things and then they fell on their face. But just like Kansas State, Florida can be dangerous, apparently. They got Texas. I think they knocked Texas out. And Mississippi State looks like their run's over. So is there enough losses here to knock out Ole Miss? I don't know, y'all. I can see them losing 2. I can see them 10-2. I don't see how they fall past 10-2 unless they just completely shit the bed. So we'll have to keep an eye on them. Let's look at 3-2 Texas. Just lost to Florida. What a joke. I'm sorry, that's a joke. And now, holy crap, I guess that was a trap game and they fell in the trap because here comes Red River and Oklahoma's on fire. I don't know. I think for the first time, I'm going to become a Sooner fan here. Let's knock Texas out of the playoff picture. That would be nice. And if they don't get it done, there's Georgia. They haven't figured out how to beat Georgia. A&M's looking pretty good. Vanderbilt's, I know they lost to Alabama, but Vanderbilt's been looking pretty decent. But I think the Sooners are going to knock them out here in Arlington. What about those Aggies? What about these Aggies, y'all? Undefeated so far this year, kicking some ass. Florida, well, that's just a weird game. But it's not a trap game because right after that, it's Arkansas. They should really beat both of those teams. LSU's dangerous. LSU lost. I don't know. They got one loss, but we'll see what A&M's got for them. Missouri's going to be tough. South Carolina, not so much. Texas, that's a big time historical rivalry game there. We'll see what happens, but for A&M, who right now is undefeated, is there 3 losses in this? I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe 10-2, 11-1's not out of the question for Texas A&M, but 10-2 probably at the worst. And what about Alabama? They slayed Vanderbilt. See, they got Missouri coming up. We're going to get we're going to get a test here for Alabama really quick here. There's Missouri, then you got Tennessee, and you're going to have LSU. It's the next scary one for them. And by the way, Alabama's the kind of program, the kind of brand. They're going to get everybody's A game. You're going to see the best South Carolina has to offer at home welcoming in Bama. That's all I'm saying. That goes without saying. But then they got Oklahoma. They end off with Auburn. So that's still a pretty damn tough remaining schedule for Alabama. If they get out of that with 2 losses, they're getting to the CFP regardless. Yeah, but right now, the way I see it, I don't know how the SEC does not get 4 teams into the playoffs. All right, so the Big Ten, there's definitely a pathway for them to only get 3. The SEC, I don't know how they could dick around and only get 3 teams in. It's 4 or nothing. It's 4, at least 4. All right. I'm just praying for not 5, but I don't think. But 4 is going to be. That's going to be apt for them. SEC will get 4. All right. Now we got to go to the Big 12 here. The Big freaking 12. We got 2 undefeateds left, y'all. BYU and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is looking nasty as shit. I'm not going to lie. They're looking damn good. BYU's also looking really... That defense is a monster. Top 2 defenses in the league. It's not close. Those are the 2 dominant defenses. Arizona State, they got some of the rub from last year. See, what do they got left? They got Utah. Then they got Tech. Then they got Houston. Iowa State. Okay, those 4 right there is going to tell us a whole lot. Colorado, Arizona. Yeah, it's the next 4 for Arizona State. We're going to find out. They're going to F around and find out a whole lot. What about Tech? They're undefeated. Can they stay undefeated? They got Kansas coming in to Lubbock. They'll get that game. Arizona, they got to go to Arizona State. Boy, that's 50-50. Oklahoma State, no problem. Kansas State, this year, they'll beat Kansas State. They got BYU. That's another big time matchup for them. I love UCF. I just, this year, no, they're not making a bowl game. Texas Tech will get them. And then they'll clean up West Virginia at the end of the year. So, right now, I would say there's 2 teams for Tech to worry about. And that's Arizona State and that's BYU. If they can get through those 2, they're undefeated. All they need is 1-1. So, the way I see it for the Big 12, Texas Tech more than likely is going to be undefeated or 1 loss. What about BYU? They got Arizona. Arizona ain't no punk, but I got BYU. Holy Wars 50-50. Iowa State, it doesn't look like. I don't know what, I don't know. They're not out of it. If they can get a little healthy, they're going to give BYU all they want. Texas Tech, like I said before, then they got TCU. All of a sudden, Cincinnati is not some punk. They're not some punk. So, BYU, I could see 10-2. I'm not going to say that's at best. I'm going to say 10-2 is the most likely one. Because, like I said, Texas Tech at Lubbock, I love BYU. But, man, going to Lubbock this year with that crew, it's tough. At home against TCU, I love TCU, but there's some flaws there. And I kind of like BYU at home. I kind of like Cincinnati at home a little bit, but that BYU defense is suffocating. So they'll have a real shot there. So overall, 11-1, 10-2 for BYU. That's not out of the question. So, I mean, that could be your conference championship matchup right there. BYU and Tech. I'm not trying to throw shade at Arizona State. They definitely have a chance, but they got a murderer's row coming up. And they already caught that Mississippi State loss. That could be the loss that kills them. That could be the loss that screws their whole season, their postseason, and everything for Arizona State. Is that stupid Mississippi State loss. That can... It looks like shit, is all I'm trying to tell you. It looks like caca. But for the Big 12 to get in, these are the 5 teams we're really counting on, guys. BYU, Tech, Arizona State, Cincinnati, and Iowa State. TCU is a little bit in it. Utah, you can't forget them either. They're still in it a little bit. I'm not trying to throw a bunch of shade on Arizona. I got to see more. You're going to have to win some big time games for me to really consider that team right now. But we have essentially we have pathways for these teams. But unlike the ACC, you could pick any of these schools. Look, let's pick Baylor. They're going to have some bitch-ass matchups. TCU, Cincinnati, Utah. Houston's no punk. That's a tougher schedule than any of those ACC teams are going to deal with. I mean, we're just a better overall. Look at this shit. 5 and 4 wins all the way down. You're talking 6 weeks into the season. Look at this shit. 4 and 1, 4 and 1, 4 and 1, 4 and 1. Okay, 4 and 2 and 4 and 2. But you know what? These teams got flaws defensively, but they got fantastic quarterbacks and they can light you up. Then look at the one-loss teams up here. All right. Iowa State, a little banged up, but still a good team. And we still got 2 undefeateds. This is a murderer's row of freaking schools, man. I mean, look, all the way down here is Utah. And Utah's going to kick the shit out of a lot of people this year still. You think Kansas State lost their last game or won their last game? They haven't. Colorado, even Colorado down here is going to surprise some people at the end of the season. They're not going to be that bad. They can still make a bowl game. They're probably 6-6 this year. I could roll with that. There's a little life there in Colorado. But this is a hell of a freaking conference, man. It is hard to get somewhere undefeated or with just one loss. There's a chance. There's some, like I said, Texas Tech is a beast. BYU's a beast. Arizona State, last time we saw them, they had some beastie look to them. Cincinnati is coming up big time. And don't count out Iowa State. We got way more than 2 teams capable of pulling this shit off. So bottom line, we got a shot. That's what I'm saying. The SEC, it's at least 4 teams. Truthfully, Notre Dame, it's going to be tough to see them drop another game. There's a chance, but not a lot of chances. The schedule just isn't there. USC is the best case scenario. They lose to them. That's about it. The Big Ten, yeah, they can definitely just get 3 in. You could see that, come into life. The ACC, it's going to be hard to keep 2 teams out of the ACC just because those schedules are so freaking easy. All right, until I'm proven wrong, until all of a sudden Syracuse starts winning games, till North Carolina State starts winning some freaking games here, starts looking like, the team that beat Clemson, till we start seeing some of that shit. So, that's all I'm saying. It's easy schedules over there. The Big 12 is just, every week it's some shit. Every week for every one of these schools. Man, it is not easy. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some more crap later. Bye.